here's my finished weathered Intermountain car. You see it's got the brake details. Done some weathering with it. These kits are pretty hard to put together, really, and they probably don't make them anymore for that reason. I don't know if they make them anymore or not. But I'll tell you how I did the weathering, which is a little interesting. First of all, I put some rust stains on the underneath, dragged it down using basically a red color, Vallejo dark red, and mixed it with some black, and then made some spots on there and dragged them down. And then I faded them out, because what I did was I mixed some paint together and made a faded out color. I couldn't match that color perfectly anyway, so what I did was I made a faded out version of the color. And as you can see, when I painted it on, it gives a nice weathering effect, lightly weathered. I'll probably go ahead and spray it again. I'm gonna take down that color on the trucks with some grimy black, because I think it's a little too much. What I like to use is Floqual grimy black, which is a little bit lighter gray than the Polyskull grimy black, and it really helps highlight the details. So I used kind of a Tuscan red and black for the couplers to make that look a little more rusty. Those are copper trip pins, and I painted them grimy black as well. So each one of those, see those ladders are plastic, and you've got to cut them out, sand them. It's really hard. Probably the hardest details is corner grab irons right there on the roof. Those are really fragile, as are the grab irons right there. And it's hard to get the flash off of them too, so I can understand why people would rather have ready to run and maybe just weather them. Honestly, I am a little bit concerned with the hobby, because what we're doing here is, you can see these are Microtrains cars, and they are weathered, and they're beautifully weathered. Chalk marks on them, everything. And it's getting to the point, and they've also started putting etched metal roof walks on their cars. And see how beautiful these are? And I'm sitting there going, it used to be that you would build a car kit like this one, and weather it, and you'd probably even paint it, decal it, weather it. These Intermountain kits come painted and decaled, or painted and lettered, so you don't have to do that. But they are pretty hard to put together, and then you have to weather them. And it's fun and challenging. These guys, now this car right here, that's about a $12 car when I bought it new. I did put body mount couplers on there, so you figure another $3 for that, so $15 in that car. And these cars right here that I got at Choo Choo Shop were $48 for the pair, so that's $24. So for what would that be, $9 more, you get a car already with the couplers on it, and etched roof walks, and already weathered, and everything like that. And that's great, except that, what are we doing? What's this hobby about? I mean, when you get a layout, you're just watching trains go around in circles, or it's hard to make a big layout at home. So about the only thing left for a modeler to do is to weather his cars, do some scenery and stuff, and now it's pre-made to the point where it's kind of taking the fun out of it. Let's see, here's the two cars basically side by side, and my car I didn't weather nearly as heavy, of course, but as you can see, you've got the etched roof walks, and you got the corner grabs there. They've made a lot of improvements in their models over the years. That's a much nicer brake wheel than they used to put on. And Intermountain, thanks to Intermountain, we've got them putting some 3D nice brake details on there, which they didn't used to do. And these cars have body-mounted Microtrains couplers. Now, the one thing that they didn't do that they could have done, probably should have done, was put metal wheel sets on there. I mean, they make them. I don't even know why they do the plastic low-profile wheel sets anymore, but they do. You can tell that this is a 70s type car because it's got that code on it. Yeah, you know, so these maybe don't have the separate grabs right there, as you can tell. But, you know, for 24 bucks, and you figure, I spent probably 8 hours on this. I mean, it took it over 2 days. Well, one thing was the roof was warped, which can happen. It can sit in a package and that roof can get warped. So what I did was I put it in boiling water, and I had to do it twice to straighten it out so that I could attach it, and then I used clamps to hold it down while the glue set. You know, but if you have these sitting around in a package long enough, things will happen. It'll warp or whatever because that roof is a separate detail. Also, the thing about these Intermountain cars is they're underweight. So this was, with no weights in it, it was 1/3 of an ounce. And in-scale cars, basically a stock in-scale car that buy ready to run weighs 1/2 ounce, and that's what it should weigh. NMRA wants it to weigh, like this car is 3 inches long, so they want it to weigh 1/2 ounce plus 0.15 ounces, or almost another 1/2 ounce, which would, because of the length, it goes by length. So if you have a 3-inch car, you add 0.45, so it's 0.15 per inch of body length that you add to the standard rate of 1/2 ounce, which would make this thing weigh 1 ounce, which is about what a standard out of the box HO scale car weighs. And to me, I think it ought to weigh a little bit more than stock, but not that much more. So I added 1/4 ounce, got it up to about a little over 1/2 ounce, and I think that that's going to be fine, especially with body-mounted couplers. But I think the standard is just not right with the NMRA. I think it makes those cars way too heavy, and so I probably won't do that. I'll probably do less than that. So obviously I'm not the neatest person, and I have several projects going along. It looks like a tornado went through a trailer park right here, because I was making that model kit that I just showed you, the MP boxcar. I'm also finishing up my switching tower, so I'm making the interior there and painting figures. And so while I was waiting for some of that stuff to dry or whatever, I started working on the boxcar model. Well, obviously I got tools and paints and glue. And by the way, I do highly recommend this Tamiya extra thin cement. If you're going to use liquid cement, this is the stuff. Tamiya extra thin. I saw online where most of the fine scale modelers are using this stuff, and they build the models first and then paint them afterwards. I used to paint them and then build them, but they get really great results by building them and then painting them. So obviously I need to clean this mess up before I do something else. And an N-scale, if you're working on a figure or something like that, you can see, like, here's my hand. You see how tiny that thing is. Stuff sticks to you, inadvertently it will inadvertently stick to you like that. See my, and then it'll end up on the floor if you're not careful. And all this stuff is really tiny, so it can be very frustrating. And if you have carpet, it's even worse. So anyway, this is my messy workbench.